Hey everybody. I think I hit go. Let me know if you could see see my hands playing and hear me speaking. You see me? Oh, good. I hear you, Wookie. My hands are speaking and the voice is playing. What would be the ASL equivalent of these hand gestures? I hope it's not obscene. Hey, Gwen. Let me scroll through here and just say hello real quick. Hey, Torsten. Let's see. Casual Noises, Quattro Bagina. I see Biscuit. Romper, Stomper, Bomper, Boo. Richard Olpin. Semtex Cow and Andy. Wookie. Some of you were in here early. The Morphing Orb. Davey. Casual Noises. Mr. Hopkins, whose mailbox had an untimely demise last night. Let's see who else. Hey, Will, Isaac, Anna, Mr. VB. Almost at the bottom here. Let's see. Zyrex Deinhardt. Always good. Let's see. Biscuit, yeah. Do you realize what your hands just said? I don't know. I did not. Plausible deniability is the key. I've spent the day, big chunk of last night and this morning, yak shaving. Hey, Garen. And Modern Muso. Hey, man. All right. So what happened this week? I've been thinking about, from a music production perspective, historically, I have always overshared and shared incomplete pieces too early. And so what I'm doing here is I'm sharing early revs of this one piece. But I think I've made a decision where I'm going to take it so far, and then I'm going to put it away. Not put it away, but I'm going to stop streaming about this particular song after today. And I'm going to start working on the next one, which I've actually already started working on, but I'm going to start sharing how that one's going. Because I do want there to be a bit of a surprise when this eventually comes out. So heads up. This will be the last week you hear this particular track. So if you're getting bored with it, great. Only one more to go. So what we're going to talk about today is moving from the session view in Ableton, where I had all the clips, will look like this, over to the arrangement view, where I've got the beginnings of what I call an arrangement. I've put the clips in the orders I think they should go in, and what will I do next? And I'll talk a little bit about that, because the clips are just the sketches, right? I have to go back through now that this stuff is printed, right? I have to go through. This is a pattern that's going to play through a couple times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plays through 4 times through the course of the song. And I don't want that necessarily. I want good variation across it. So now that it's printed, I'll go through here and start manually editing these things. And I'll talk about that a little bit today. Like, what does that mean? But also the channels. So most of you know that I've spawned off another channel. And what's the point of that, and why am I streaming across both of them? Well, I'm streaming across both of them. I was going to transition everything over to the other one as far as the streams were concerned. But I think because of you all, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to just simulcast the stream every Sunday on both channels. But this one, if you're looking at this from the Synth Seeker channel, which you all are, it would appear, because you all like each other and there's a community there, this is going to be the peanut gallery. And I'm going to have the other stream not have a chat at all. So for people who want a quiet room, they can go there. Treat it like a podcast. And for people who want to interact with you all in the peanut gallery, which is a lot of fun, I must say, they can come to the Synth Seeker stream. And that's the goal. That's what's going to happen. So heads up. Hey, Andy. Let's see. And not used to seeing you in an arrangement view. Yep, that'll be today. Davey says, I start totally from nothing and in the end almost get something. You get plenty of good stuff there, Davey. Hey, Dr. Cynthia. And Craig. Hey. Let's see. All right. As always, please tag me if you have a question. I'm going to let you all say hello and talk amongst yourselves. So, hey, I was looking at the Source stream, actually an Andy stream on Saturday, and it was like on Andy's stream, an hour and a half in, everyone was still saying hello. So, new people come in and then everyone says hello to them and they say hello to everyone. It's crazy. So enjoy it, but if you don't tag me, I'm not gonna see it. Okay. So I was stressing out about it a few weeks ago and I'm just not going to stress about it anymore. Anyway, let's talk about this. So what I'm going to do here is I've printed these clips out in the arrangement I want them to be in. So this is the song. And so within arrangement view, we start here. I always leave a little empty space at the beginning here because I, change an intro around or something like that, or I may do something where I crossfade between tracks, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And then I can look at the actual time on the bottom and get an eyeball for about how long the piece is. So this piece is just over 5 minutes, which is a little on the long side. I was going to try and shoot for things between 3.5 and 4 minutes. So what may happen is some of these I've got a couple places where the part is a little extra long, like we've got a 4-bar sort of part here, but here's an 8-bar, or 8 and 16 at this zoom. I'm not sure. Let's see. 53 to 61. So this is 8. So yeah, so 8-bar, 16-bar. This might be too long. Now, that's okay if I go through and add more layers or do something interesting musically with these. So what you're going to hear today, when we get to these longer, broader parts, they're going to sound maybe a little repetitive because they are the same pattern, mostly. Like this particular one is the 32-bar phrase. But we'll talk about that. So I'm going to, for the next 5 minutes, continue to say hello to each other. I am just going to play the piece from beginning to end. So the sketch 5 minutes it should take. So have a listen, say hello to each other, and let's talk about how this is going to work. All right. All right. So that's the gist, okay? So this stream will be the last sort of full recording or playing of that. I'm going to, oh, hello. I thought I put myself in Do Not Disturb, but I can't answer that one right now. They'll call back. There we go. Anyway, so this will be the last week that we're working on this. We're to start the next showing the next song next week. But some things that we're going to talk a little bit about here about some things that I need to do to this to move it forward a bit. So, and hey, hello to AJ Largefather and someone else popped in here. Malagify. Hey, welcome guys. Guess Song of Rest on crowd. Song of Rest. I don't know. Oh, wait. Are we playing? So just heads up, AJ, at 3 o'clock-ish after we end this stream, I'm absolutely going into our bedroom. This morning was like a very thought intensive, and then my father visited, so that was like interaction intensive. And then we're doing this, which is relatively interaction intensive. And all I'm going to do at 3 o'clock is want to zone out and think about nothing. So at 3 o'clock, I'm going to go into the bedroom, turn on the PlayStation, and play a whole bunch of Baldur's Gate 3. And there are no bards in my party. So if Song of Rest is a bard reference, I'm sorry. That's just not my thing. I do enough music outside when I go into playing D&D. Yeah, I just want to kill things. So nap mode. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so let's talk about some of this. So here's an example of let me find this. Actually, let's do it with there's a rhythmic cadence that happens in the melodies a lot, and it does this. So that little phrase, it's bum, 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 and some other note. Bum, 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 and some other note. That sort of phrase is a theme in the piece, and that appears in this instrument. It appears in the Rhodes, and it'll appear with embellishment. So, and the other thing we get is there's really two sort of recurring phrases in here, that and this one that goes. It's sort of a step. It's a step down, then up. It occurs, let's see, here, if I solo this. So those are the two phrases, and they appear all over the place, and I'm trying to fit them in different, with using different pitches, but rhythmically it's about the same. So in the A part, it tends to be, that's one rhythm, and the other would be, all right. So those are sort of the key phrases. And there's sort of two moods in here. One is the sort of Mixolydian mood when we're on the root. And then the B parts are still in Mixolydian, but we're up a fifth. So it feels minor, or Dorian. Yeah, feels Dorian. So we're moving between that sort of Mixolydian feel and this, through this Dorian sort of feel. And so the Dorian one is that, and the Mixolydian one is that. Those are sort of the flavors primarily that are in this piece. And so one of the things I'm going to do in finishing this piece is go through these melodies, zoom in on them, and go and find, so there's a certain amount of repetition. I'm going to go in and add embellishments there, change some of them around. This 32 bar section here, 16 bar segment here is not so bad, but like this one, which you can barely see, let's do this. Let's make this a brighter color. There we go. So like this is pretty much, that doesn't have a lot of variation in there, right? If you look at these ones up here, let's go back to the beginning. This one here, right? This is just a 6-note repeating sort of ostinato. So I'm going to have to, well, I'm not having to, but I'm going to go through and sort of print these so that they are one big piece, and then go in and start putting some variations in, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to have to do. The bass line is very much a repeating figure, right? Right, so those 8 bars repeat. They're the same here, here, where else? This one, so 1, 2, 3. These 3 sort of 8 bar sections are identical in the bass part. So I want to go, I'll go change this one around a bit, then change this one a little bit more, change this one a bit more. And what I'm probably going to do is increase the energy in each one. So this one will stay the same. This one will go through on and add rhythmically, same notes, but rhythmically a bit more, and maybe a grace note. And this, the sort of final version, this one will end up probably having some runs in it, right? A la Chris Squire-y, kind of like, you know, either a long run up or a long run down, kind of like drum fills, but on the bass, right? So let's see. Quick reference, D&D 5e. Yeah, extra healing for everyone. That's cool. Hey, Doug. Hey, Doug. Good to see you. I didn't see you pop in earlier. All right. So that's on the plate for future changes. The drums are literally the same loop throughout the entire song. There is right. The drums are just a stylus loop going through a little ambient reverb. I've got a microfills on it. If you're not familiar with what this is, it's a really, it's been in Ableton forever. It's like a granular sampler with some random aspects. And so it'll take a slice, chop it up, and then you can pitch it up, pitch it down, decay it, filter it, etc. So let me turn this off. And just, I'm going to play some of this loop here, and you guys can, let's do this. There we go. Let me play this, and I'll audition this on and off. You'll definitely hear the difference. I'm going to play with something. I'm going to solo this and solo my mic. I haven't messed around with soloing and allowing my mic to keep going, so hang on a second. Check 1, 2. Ah, there we go. All right. I can hear this. Let me know if my voice isn't coming through. But so as far as stylus is concerned, there's two things I'm doing to it. I've got this dub delay on it. So it sort of fills in some of the chops because the drum loop is really gated. And so the delay sort of throws a little tit. And then I turned up the microfill's chance to like 100%, and you'll hear what it does. So I normally keep that down around 25%. And it just fills in. And if this isn't something that's going to make it into the final piece, it's just a useful tool that lets me drop a loop in, get some variation on it. So it kind of glues everything together as I'm working on it. Anyway, so that's the state of the world there. Thanks, Garen. All right, so I can solo something and then solo my mic. I should just map those to a control surface, but I just haven't. I'm like, in my old age, I'm getting simplifying to the point where I will lose functionality if it's just simpler. Anyway, so that's what's going on with the piece. And we've got the beginnings of it. We've got this sort of tail end piece where I just bring back the Rhodes to play this last little bit. All right. And we'll see where we go. Now, all of this is in the box except for this one little section here. This is the Cobalt 8. So I like this sound, but when I work on this music, I work on the couch. The Cobalt 8's in the studio. So I could print this to audio, right? I'm just not that motivated, right? So I like my hardware synths, don't get me wrong. And they are definitely inspiring. But at the end of the day, my current workflow is working on the couch mostly with headphones and my laptop. So I will probably end up cutting this and replacing it with something else. Because I wasn't motivated enough to bring it into the rest of the song, right? I had a piece down back here at the end, but I wasn't happy with it. There it is without. Here it is with. If I push it forward in the mix, you can hear it, but it's just not that great. So like, I mean, it's a good sound. Right. This is that basic Jupiter. But this is kind of mellow. It doesn't have the sharpness of the Cobalt. But when we layer it with the Rick, I actually want the mellow thing. When the Cobalt and the Rick play together, they sort of interfere with each other. Hang on, I've got the Rick is sustaining. Stop. There we go. So, hey, Bijou Cassel. So, Bijou, you're the one person who's sitting over on the other channel, the Luke Stark composing channel. So, just so you know, I'm dual casting at a couple places. So if you feel lonely, you're in the quiet room. If you feel lonely, go over to Synth Seeker, and you can get in the room with all the animals. But that's okay. And as far as the rest of you animals, there's some nice comments from Bijou here. Let's see. Oh, no, it's not your bed. You could stay there. That's the quiet room. But if you want the zoo, you can flip over to the other one. It's a simulcast. But Biju's talking about how he or they switched to Bitwig and never looked back. That's cool, man. And there's a lot of posts about, it's got a long thread here about how they switched to Bitwig. Let's see. And how you can achieve proper mixes with any headphones, no matter the price. That's cool. Thank you for that. Thanks for the help, man. I appreciate that. Anyway, so eventually it's all just water, wave? Was that an Under the Bridge reference? Yeah. Simplify ends up as a drone. That is very true, Andy. And Will wants to increase complexity with more experience. That, I don't know, that tends to happen. I don't know. I'm all about simplicity. Let's see. Zyrex says he's at a point in his life where pink noise is work. Oh gosh, that's cool. Andy's got commentary on that. Anyway, so that's basically what's going on. I don't have a huge update today, right? So this is the piece that will, this is sort of the patchwork of parts, the order the parts are going to occur in, right? So we're going to start with our A part. We'll move into this B part that's very Dorian, and then we'll move back into the A part. We've got two main phrases that I'm interested in sort of putting in as I go through and get rid of some of the repetition by adding elaboration in some of these clips. I'm going to be putting those phrases in. So in the sense of a round or a few, maybe, I'm not sure, right? I'm not a theory guy. So it's all like gut. Do it by gut for the most part. Oh, Biju, don't sweat it, man. I did not take that as snarky. It's all good. Let's see. And really, that's about it. If anyone has any questions, let me know. But I am like fried. I was yak shaving all morning, so I'm building this. My job has shifted just a little bit. And I'm getting a lot of information thrown at me, and so I'm collecting it all and aggregating it, and have to process it and sort of distill it out and then spit it back out to my peers. And it's making me realize that some of my information management systems are fucked up. Pardon me, family friendly, messed up. And so I spent the morning looking at information management systems, which is totally yak shaving. I should just pick one and do it. But so what I'm going to do this afternoon is I'm going to kill orcs in Baldur's Gate 3, for the most part. So, has anyone played the Udo Super 6? I have, Doug. It's a great synth. There are some things about the panel I don't like personally, and I really would rather have a Super Gemini, because while it still has some of those annoying things on the panel, it's duplicated, and there's one for each layer, which is super excessive. So the collector in me wants a Super Gemini, which is stupidly expensive, but I want one because it's the only synth I know of that has done this super excessive thing where the panel is literally duplicated twice, once for each layer. I think that's insane. Prejudiced against orcs. Yes. So it's okay. I read a book recently, called Legends and Lattes, and it's like this cozy fantasy genre where it's like fantasy, swords and sorcery, main character's an orc, but there's no like trauma that happens. Nobody dies. The big bad is like the local mob heavy. It's not like a god coming to crush the earth. It's just dealing with like the local protection racket. It's like all the stakes are lower in this sort of genre. And the lead character in that is an orc, and it was an excellent book. So don't say I'm prejudiced against orcs. I'm okay with orcs. Doug says, would the Super 6 Gemini complement the Peak well? I have a hard time with complement. I don't know, because the collector in me wants a Super Gemini because the panel's unique. So. They're very Roland-y, and and they feel very Rolandy to me. But that whole binaural thing with the true stereo analog paths, or paths through the system, not necessarily analog, those are interesting. But hold on, I'm reading the chat. Let's see. Oh, I should probably start a drone. Got a drone in here somewhere. There we go. I see the Cobalt 8M. Do you think the Cobalt or the Argon modular for both would be a better purchase? It's tough. The Cobalt, they say, is their virtual analog synth. And yeah, it is a virtual analog synth. But the oscillator algorithms in it are anything but virtual analog. They're not wavetable, but they're functionally wavetable, because the parameters that you tweak on their oscillators make them do crazy stuff. So they're really just, there's no wavetables that you scan through on a Cobalt, but if you modulate the 2 or 3, there's primarily 2 option parameters for each oscillator. If you modulate those, it's functionally the same as scanning through a wavetable. You do crazy stuff with it. If you could get your hands on one, I would try them both out. I have a Cobalt. I have no desire for an Argon. And I've played with the Argon, and it is a good synth, but I'm happy with the Cobalt. I'm not saying it's better, but they are very similar. They don't make sound the same way, but at the end of the day, the sounds you can record out of it are close, right? So I don't know. How's that for a wishy-washy answer? Hey, Joe Johnson. How's it going, man? It's more like wave folding on the Cobalt than wavetable scanning. It is, but it's more than just wave folding, right? Because typically wave folding has a very distinctive sound depending on the waveform you're folding, and also depending on the waveform you're folding and the folding algorithm. Some folding algorithms don't do much on certain waves, and the Cobalt designers went out of their way to make sure that the parameters you modulate on the Cobalt oscillators do very interesting things far more intense than just basic wave folding, right? So you could say it's wave folding, but it's crazy wave folding. I'm not to argue with Garen. Garen, we're friends. We know that. And then I have a Cobalt and I don't have an Argon. So there is a very real sort of behavior of you like the synths you have, right? So I have a Cobalt. So of course I'm going to say, yeah, it's great. Right. Oh, Joe, you're waiting to drive him back? Well, back too. Yeah, because it's Sunday. He's got to go back to school today, doesn't he? For tomorrow. Malagify says, I also had a Nordlead A1, but didn't use it, so you sold it. So sad. It's one of my favorite synths. A vaguely loose, wishy-washy wet answer. That is true. Wookie. Confirmation bias. Yeah. At least I'm aware of my own confirmation bias, right? Unlike other people. I find I want the synths I don't have. My collector wants certain synths, yeah. So what's on the list for collection? So if I had a whole lot of money right now, a Super Gemini would be on the list. And honestly, Polybrute 12, which up until about 3 days ago, I had zero interest in. But I don't know. Something about it's bugging me, making me be like, I think it's the control, the keyboard, the keybed's making me. I gotta get my hands on one, right? I suspect if I get my hands on one, I'm gonna be disappointed. But Yeah. Let's see, Doug. Where would be a good place to go in the region to try all these synths out? That's the tricky part. For me, it's going to the local synth meetup or going to the New England Synthesizer Festival events, which happens 3 or 4 times a year. And hope that someone brings one to the petting zoo, but the Polybrute 12 is so expensive and so heavy that it's unlikely that anyone will bring one, but whatever. Going to the group will help you meet someone who has one, right? It just depends. And it depends on how hot a synth is, right? Because like when the Osmos first came out, there was 2 New England synth events I went to over the course of a couple of months, and there was 3 Osmos there for people to try out. Like it was the new hotness, right? And so people were like, "Oh, I'll bring mine and share it. People can check it out." But like everyone had the same idea, so there's a dearth of Osmos, And the Polybrute's been out for a while, but it's hard to obtain. So I don't know. We'll see. You would get a Moog 1, Gwen. I have owned a Moog 1, and I sold it because it won't stay in tune. So I know some of them do, but mine did not. And so off it went. Moog is a thing that's near and dear to my heart. I love Moog a lot. I have a lot of Moogs here in this collection, but I was telling Taskboy the other day, given a Moog, as soon as you stick more than 3 oscillators in a Moog, it won't stay in tune. And that's just Moog, right? And so you can either deal with it or you can't. And I'm broken and I can't. So the most oscillators is 3. No, that's not true. 4. Because I do have a Matriarch. Matriarch's pretty good. But the Moog 1, I love the Moog 1. If this is what I want in music to do, I want them to resurrect the Moog 1, take out the analog voice boards and put digital voice boards in it. Because the panel on that thing is freaking awesome, and it's sort of the way it's thought out and how you use it is amazing. But those voice boards keep it from staying in tune. So Large Father said you saw my Minotaur video. Yeah, if you're spending in that price range, get a modal. It's like it's the poly mono thing, right? Like a poly synth should always be your first synth. Nobody should ever get a mono synth as their first synth. Get a poly synth, preferably a digital one, so you'd have to deal with tuning, Let's see, Doug, do you use the iConnectivity MIDI box? I have used an iConnectivity MIDI box like 20 years ago when iConnectivity was a new company, and they worked well back then. And I know everyone now loves them, so I would imagine they're okay. And Doug, have I ever played a third wave? Yes, I have played a third wave. I like the third wave a lot. Although the Behringer wave, while not at all an equivalent, it will definitely get you to the sound if you want. But with the PPG stuff, you can load the PPG wavetables in just about any wavetable synth these days. The thing about the third wave is they really tried to make it exactly like the PPG to 2.5. Like the weird idiosyncrasies that the PPG had, the third wave has them too. And maybe the Behringer wave does. I haven't laid down my hands on one of those, but I do like the third wave, though it's prohibitively expensive. Matriarch won't stay in tune either. The Matriarch... So, here's the thing about the Moog synths. If the panel on the Moog synth, as far as tuning is concerned, if there's a master tune and then an individual tune for each oscillator, I have no trouble with that. Because usually Moog synths stay in good relative tune. It's not like oscillator 3 goes out of tune while oscillators 1, 2, and 4 stay in tune. That tends not to happen. What happens is the master tune drifts. So on the subsequent, on the sub family, on the Mini Moog, and on those 2 families, you can just reach over to the master tune and tweak it. Even while you're playing, it's easy to fix, it's easier to correct. On the Matriarch, I'm annoyed because the master tune is a tiny little pot on the back of the synth with a detent in it, and the detent on mine isn't accurate. Like it's not A440, which is a little frustrating. But on like on the Moog 1, just individual voices would go out of tune because every voice was its own board. It was super frustrating. So I had 16 voices and like 3 of them wouldn't stay in tune. Incredibly frustrating. And on the Muse, which I've never tried, I suspect it's similar because I've read reports. So I'm a little turned off there. I'm not dissing it. I love Moog synths. I have a bunch. I just don't like their polysynths. So I'm ranting. Sorry. Richard has an ICM4 Plus. There you go. Richard Olpen can give you feedback on the iConnectivity stuff. Thanks, Garen. Garen and I are in alignment. How would you compare the third wave to the Gemini Super 6? They're completely different animals. Absolutely different. The third wave is a wavetable synth that is also a sampler and will play samples. Whereas the Super 6 Gemini, you can load that stuff in, but they're just completely different architectures too. I don't know. I'd get both if you could swing it. Alcadroid says you sold your Matriarch. I'm sorry, dude. I've turned mine into like the showpiece of the room. I stuck a modular rack on the back of it, and one of these days I'll get back around to it and start, working on the modular stuff. But I really need to get this album out before the collector gets satisfied, right? Let's see. Malagafai says I had sold every synthesizer. Synthesizers weren't for you. So back in the middle of the pandemic, I sold all my hardware. So middle of the pandemic, I had a large synth collection, but was still based in Ableton in the push. I was using it as a mixer, and I said, screw this. And I sold every synth I had and spent way too much money. I spent a large chunk of that on a kitted out laptop, and it worked great, and I loved it, except that I immediately started buying synths again because I collect synths as well as use them to play, right? And I like having a collection. So I've reconciled that. I have a collection, and then I also use the laptop. All right. A bunch of people use iConnectivity stuff. I just use DIN MIDI for the most part. I don't use USB. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not my thing. Right. So I have a bunch of MIDI splitters. I do have a Motu 8-port MIDI, a hub, but I'm not using it. Synths are forever. Laptops have designed obsolescence. I both agree and disagree with you, Large Father. Synths are not forever. Synths will die, and you will have to deal with them. Right? Just as laptops do. Right? So I've got several synths that I'm like, ugh, I have to have this repaired. It's starting to exhibit weird behavior. And then I'm like, where am I going to get this repaired? Because I don't want to send the synth back to the maker because it's way too far. And when I try and contact the maker and say, who's a certified repair tech near me, I get no response. It's super, super annoying. Garen, are you having trouble with your USB MIDI? This has really devolved just into synth chat at this point. We'll go for another 5 or 10 minutes. And then I'm going to go play Baldur's Gate 3 and kill things. I'm sure that ARP Odyssey has been repaired once or twice. The push is not in key mode. It's in chromatic mode, Doug, so I can play. Right, it's just lit up to show you what's in key and what's not. Right, we can get dissonant with it. Here, let's do this. We'll do a super fast jam. Let me save this set. Hold on. Let's kill all of this. Don't worry, I saved. All right. ya, Xyrix. Good night, Andy. Okay, Andy. Soon, shortly. And there we go. Still got that drone going. There we go. All right. I think we're good. Checking the chat here. Hey, large father. No problem. Thanks for visiting. It's always good. Let's see. I'm letting the orcs make their last with their gods. Yes. I'm totally going. So for those of you who play D&D or Baldur's Gate, which is effectively the same thing, but, you know, on the PlayStation or the computer, I have re-rolled. I've played through the game several times, and just on a whim, I'm playing through with a party of nothing but Fey warlocks. It's totally just everybody's a warlock. And it's pretty silly. Anyway. All right. Everyone, have a great day. Have a good week, whatever's coming up. I will talk to you next Sunday. Next Sunday, we're going to start sharing one of the next pieces I'm working on. And this one will keep getting worked on in the background. All right. All right. So with that, I will close her all down. La-di-da-di-da. And we will end the stream. Thanks, guys.